guys, I'm Hayden.
I'm Aaron, and we are so excited to be back out in the world traveling again.
We are super excited to share today's video with you because we are knocking off one of my top bucket list items, and that is getting PADI Scuba certified.
The very first thing we had to do before even thinking about getting in the water was to complete our e-learning materials. Online, we were able to learn all of the basics about scuba diving and had to pass several small exams after each section. And then we had a huge, large, full exam at the very end. Luckily, we both passed.
You guys, today is the most exciting day. We're learning how to scuba dive. What do you think? Are you scared?
I'm very nervous, actually. I think I'm gonna love it, but I think I just need to get in the water and get over that first panic of not knowing how to breathe. And there's a couple things where I'm just like, once I get over that hump, I think I'm gonna freaking love this. So
we are battling a tropical depression, so luckily right now it is not
upgraded to tropical storm overnight. It's Tropical Storm Marcos.
So that's worse.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Right now it's not raining, which is great. And the first day, basically, we're just going to the dive center. We're learning how to dive in the pool and like watching videos. So it should be a pretty easy day. And then the storm is supposed to hit us pretty intensely overnight. And then we may or may not be getting into the ocean tomorrow. So, I'm not really trying to get out in the water. I can see it right now and it looks a little choppy out there. Like, I get seasick, so that wasn't exactly the way I anticipated learning how to scuba dive for the first time in a storm. Then it was off to the dive center where we started day one by getting fitted for wetsuits and our BCDs. We're all suited up. I got my wetsuit on. I got my little dive thing on. We're ready to go. So we're just learning about our tanks and we're getting a little bit of information before they throw us into the water. But the best part is that we're the only ones here. I couldn't be more excited that we get our own private instruction. Then we learned about setting up our equipment, including how to attach the tanks to the BCD, which stands for Buoyancy Control Device, basically the vest that you wear, and how to attach the hoses for the regulators, etc. to the tanks.
Then we learned how to set up our weight belts. And then finally we were ready to jump in the pool and see how all of this equipment functioned in the water. Next, it was time to start doing our training exercises. The number one rule of scuba diving is never hold your breath, otherwise your lungs could end up rupturing. You want to remember to always have a steady stream of bubbles if your regulator is ever out of your mouth. So we've done a couple of our in-pool dives.
Just learning all the things that we hopefully never really have to do or have to use. But good to know in an emergency, so that muscle memory. Also, wetsuits are swimming. I mean, not right now, but...
After a break, we were ready for more training, including how to reposition the tanks underwater, how to help with a leg cramp, breathing underwater without a mask, how to flood and clear your mask, and how to be neutrally buoyant.
Next up, we worked on removing all of our equipment underwater and then putting it back on, amongst many other important skills. We ended the training day by watching 3 hours of videos that went over everything that we had just learned.
When you go underwater, the water adds to this.
Ready for this?
30 feet of water adds the
Got my
same
Sandy.
pressure as the one
Got beer.
atmosphere there.
Let's watch some videos.
Yeah.
3 hours, here we go.
3 hours.
So after that first day, we were feeling extremely confident. We had all of our skills done in the water, in the pool, which removes all of the elements of the ocean and makes it just so much easier to concentrate on what you're doing. It doesn't hurt that we had an incredible teacher named Sarah. She was extremely patient with us. She broke everything down into very easy steps and really helped us learn what we needed to, and we couldn't have asked for a better teacher.
She even said that it was really rare for people to not have to repeat any of the same training exercises. So we were feeling pretty confident, pretty proud of ourselves at the end of the day. And yeah, like Aaron said, it was just nice to be able to be in the pool without any elements of ocean activity, which is a lot more stressful.
Yeah, when you're taking your mask completely off or pulling your regulator out of your mouth, being able to do that in a controlled environment really just makes things a lot less stressful and a lot easier to retain the information. Later on that night, we were supposed to get hit by Tropical Storm Marcos, and while we didn't get hit by the actual storm itself, we did get a treat of one of the coolest lightning and rainstorms we've ever seen.
So then we were on to day 2, which was our first day in the ocean. And it was actually just a walk-in. So we didn't have to get on a boat and jump overboard or anything like that. So we felt pretty confident about it. And we got in and still had to do some more training exercises.
We're getting ready to do our first shore dive, which is our first time in the ocean with any gear. And it's actually pretty relatively calm, but there's a storm brewing.
Repeated a lot of what we learned the first day, and just now it was the added element of being a lot deeper. We were at 10 meters, which is 30 feet, and dealing with a really intense current that happens here in Cozumel.
Yeah, no matter how much you practice or train at the pool, once you step foot in the ocean, it's a whole different world.
It's almost like you forget everything that you were taught. Like now you're just kind of like chaotically like flailing around, or at least that's how I felt.
Like you learn all these terms like neutrally buoyant and adjusting your BCD, and for me it really set in when I started actually seeing how these things impacted me in the water. And the first dive, I learned probably more in the first dive, the first hour than I think I learned in the entire e-learning and day of training. But it became very clear how all of this stuff impacts you and how not fun diving can be if you're not set up properly.
Yeah, so I had a lot of trouble with getting neutrally buoyant, which means basically that you're not sinking and you're not floating. And I float. Like I need a lot of weight in order to get to the bottom of the ocean. In fact, I think I have 22 pounds on me, which actually is really uncomfortable. You have this weight belt on and you have like a heavy tank. So you've got maybe like 50 pounds at least on your body. And at least when you're at the bottom of the ocean, it's a lot more less like compressive, but just the whole experience with not being able to like get neutrally buoyant. I needed more weight. She kept adding more weight to me because I was just floating off into the nether regions of the ocean. So it was kind of actually scary, to be honest. Like I had moments that I was a little bit terrified. I anticipated having some heartburn issues, which I deal with regularly. So because I wasn't buoyant, I felt like I was kind of like doing one of these, or my feet were up behind me. So I think that started to make my heartburn a lot worse. And then I started to kind of panic. And then I was looking up above me and I'm like, wow, we are really really deep under here, and like I can't get out. And so I had a little bit of like claustrophobia issues. And so really I had a lot of talking myself off of the ledge happening. And so we did two major dives that day, and I was not exactly looking forward to the second dive. We also started with wetsuits on.
Yeah.
And so we were able to take our wetsuits off. I was able to redistribute some of my weight. And so all of that made it a lot easier for the second round. So
yeah, I had the exact opposite problem as you, where I felt like I was like this the entire time and my feet were just dragging the ground, which, there's coral and animals down there. You don't want to be dragging along the ground. And so I learned that I need to shift my weight up higher onto my chest as opposed to around my waist, and that caused me to level out. But yeah, dropping the wetsuit, that was a huge improvement.
Yeah, it was just, everything was so tight and constricting, and so I think it was making me feel even more like anxious than I had been before. So
after a little bit of a break and a chat with our instructor, we did get back in the water, where we had to perform probably the scariest training exercise.
Yes.
It's to simulate running out of air underwater. And like Hayden was saying, you know, I think we were 8 meters down when we did that, so about 24 to 27 feet underwater, and you have like 20 to 30 seconds to get to the surface because you can't go any faster than 18 meters per minute. Otherwise, you risk lung overexpansion, decompression sicknesses. Like, you can really injure yourself. So that's a very, very scary moment to, you know, knowing that I could just take another breath on the regulator if I wanted to, but I'd have to redo the test.
Start again.
But to put yourself in that position where you're underwater and you're simulating that you don't have any air and you're trying to reach the surface, like, it's a mind game that you have to play with yourself.
And she made us like make a tiny little noise, so you basically have one breath for 30 seconds, so you're letting out little, because you always don't ever hold your breath, you always have to be letting out a small trickle of bubbles. So we would go ee, ee, and then you have to hope you make it, basically. So, and then on top of that, the current here in Cozumel is unlike anywhere else in the world. So we've been told this is obviously our first diving experience, so we don't have anything to compare it to, but it's the best drift diving in the entire world. So basically, like, imagine we're drones and we're just gonna glide through the water without having to swim or kick or do anything really, which could be really cool, but that's also really difficult when you're trying to like sit on the bottom and not move and take your mask off and you're getting like dragged by the current. So just added a lot of extra like scary elements to it. But we have been told that if we learn to dive here, we can pretty much dive anywhere in the world. So
and that second dive did go much better. Once we were a little bit more under control, we had a little bit less training exercise and scariness outside of that CESA that we had to do.
Yeah, it was intense.
But we were able to kind of just enjoy it a little bit more. And so, you know, now I'm really excited for the boat dives, because that's what we're going to be doing up here in the near future. So.
Yeah. So in the next video, you're going to see us, we're going to hit 60 feet, so 20 meters. 18 meters. I don't understand meters yet.
You're trying.
So we're going to hit 18 meters, and that's basically the max depth that our like basic open water training will get us, right? That's what it's called, open water diving. So, and then on top of that, we can get all sorts of advanced training down the line if we do decide that this is our favorite thing in the world, which I'm hoping it will be, because I had a little bit of an episode and was kind of like feeling a little guilty, like, oh no, what if we just wasted all this money, and what if Aaron loves it and I'm just not into it? So I'm looking forward to it. We're supposed to see sharks. So we're supposed to be manifesting sharks this week to make sure that we do end up seeing them next time. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
I'm excited.
And then we'll just be certified. Like, that's it. So we have one more full day of diving. I think we do 2 major dives. And we can't wait to share that with you next time.
Yeah, we even bought a special housing for our GoPro so we can take it down that deep, and got approval to go with it. So we should get some really cool footage from underwater.
Sharks. We're going to see sharks.
We're going to see sharks.
Okay. Well, we'll see you next time.
See ya.
You all set in your wetsuit?
I think so. It's a little tight.
It's your first time in a wetsuit.
Yeah, and it's my second time in a wetsuit too, because the first one was even tighter. Oh, I had to take that off. I'm overheating.
You can take your face off. I was the most nervous about having to flood my mask, is because I wear contacts. Like, I basically just have to close my eyes and I'm kind of like moving in the water blindly. But I think when I realized that I could still breathe, like, you don't need your mask to breathe, it made me like calm down a lot more. So far it's been really fun. Like mermaid.